Hi, everyone. This is Dee Marley with the History Bards Podcast. We are so thrilled to have on the show today Kate Braithwaite. And hold on, I'm going to start back over. Did I say your last name right?
You did, yeah.
Okay.
It's not easy.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start back over. Hi, everyone. This is Dee Marley with the History Bards Podcast. We are thrilled to have on the show today Kate Braithwaite with her fabulous book, The Scandalous Life of Nancy Randolph, and she's going to tell us more about it. But to get started, Kate, can you tell us a little bit about you and your journey as a writer and what led you to start writing historical fiction?
Okay, sure. I would love to. So I am originally from Scotland. I grew up there and then have lived in England and Canada, and now I live in Pennsylvania in the States. I grew up really as someone who loved reading and studied English at university, and always kind of thought, oh, I will write a book one day. I will definitely write a book one day. I love novels. I must write a book one day, but I didn't really know what to write it about.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I think I'd had my third child, and I was like, okay, girl, if you're ever going to do it, you have to really get on with it. And I'd come across a story about Madame de Montespan, who was one of Louis XIV's mistresses, and in that sort of time-honored way of, if there isn't a book about something that you want to read about, you should write it. And so
Exactly.
that was what I started trying to do. And then it was a journey. I definitely
Yes.
have learned a great deal. I think I thought I would just, that the day would have come, the idea would come, I would sit down and I would write this amazing novel. Of course, it wasn't amazing at all, and I didn't really know how to make it better and things like that. So one of the things I did was, when I was living in Canada, I attended a post-grad kind of writing class at
Right.
University of Toronto, and did a lot of classes there, and gained a lot of confidence and learned a great deal about how to improve my writing and things like that. And so that eventually I did come out with my first book in 2016, which was about Madame de Montespan.
Okay.
And then I've written a few more. So this current one is my fourth now, but everyone's
Great.
a journey, everyone's a learning experience. So
Yes, it is. It definitely is. It's definitely a long journey. It's not something, I think a lot of authors think when they're first starting out, I know I did it, oh, I have a story and everybody's going to want to read it. And it's not that way. You have to know,
no,
you have to be in it for the long haul, right?
you do. You have to love it. You have to love it for
You
sure.
really do. You really
You
do.
have to love what you're writing about to
Yes.
spend a year or two, creating something that other people will enjoy, which is the
Yes.
aim. So
Yeah. And they'll be able to tell that as well. The passion that you put behind your words and the dedication, they'll be able to tell that, that it comes across in the way that you write.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It really does. So, about your new book, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your new book and the
Sure.
premise behind it?
So this is
Yes.
my new book. There it is. So it's called The Scandalous Life of Nancy Randolph. It's about a real person. All of my novels have been about real people
Hmm.
within a fiction, with fictional elements. So Nancy Randolph was born in Virginia in the 1770s to a wealthy plantation owning family, growing up expecting to have a very ordered life, a wealthy marriage, all her enslaved people around her doing everything for her, and everything
Right.
being straightforward. And when she was young, her mother died. She was one of many children. Her elder brother married Thomas Jefferson's daughter, Patsy. So they were
Okay.
super, super well connected.
Hmm.
But the mother died, and her father remarried to a woman who was really maybe 1 or 2 years older than Nancy was. And so Nancy and this woman did not get on,
Right.
heads butted. And Nancy went to live with one of her sisters, Judy, and her husband in this quite remote Virginian plantation called Bizarre, oddly. Truly, really, nobody really knows why it was called Bizarre, but it was. And while she was living there, they went to visit friends at a local house, nearby house, and there was a disturbance in the night. And a rumor started that Nancy had given birth to a child, even though she wasn't married. And worse, that the child was was or the father of the child was her sister's husband.
Oh,
So a major scandal that
yeah.
all across Virginia up to New York, everybody there was anybody was talking about it, and well, so it's about that.
Okay.
That's what it's
So,
about.
so how did you come across it? Is this just something that like in like you've
Just
heard about or
yeah, just something I came across, and
okay.
I'm very into sisters. Like I have a whole Substack about sisters and famous sisters and different sisters in fiction and different sisters in history. And one of the things about these sisters is that after this accusation, there was a trial. There was various events that went on, but the sisters lived together for a further more than a decade after this accusation. And so I was really fascinated about what the dynamic was between
Yes.
them, what had really happened. And but it was just one of those things that I just came across. I think all of us that are into historical fiction,
Yes.
surf the internet, see things, something sparks your interest. Sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't. But this one really, I was just fascinated.
Oh, that's really neat. So it's I think there is a fascination with that, especially after Hamilton came out and you've got the whole dynamic with the sisters there,
Yeah.
both in love, both seemingly in love with Alexander Hamilton. So yes, you do have this dynamic of sisters. So that's really fascinating that most of your books deal with that.
Yeah, well, they all deal with real people, but this is but it's more like I write this Substack that's all about.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I just wrote about Jackie Kennedy and her sister.
Oh, wow.
There's lots of vaudeville sisters that are super interesting.
Uh-huh.
People from all different walks of life and lots of suffragette sister pairings and things. So I'm very interested in that. And then I've written another novel which isn't historical, but is
Mhm.
about sisters. So I guess it's a thing for
Yeah,
me.
I guess that's a thing for you. Well, that's really fascinating because the readers sometimes really hone into that kind of when you're doing research and you're really like focused on a particular thing, it really draws in certain readers who are interested in the same thing. So in your research, I know you said that this was something that happened in Virginia, right? So in your research, was there anything particular that you found that you'd like to share that maybe you either shared in the book or maybe you didn't?
I think well one of the most interesting or difficult aspects of it for me was, of course, it was the time of slavery.
Yes.
Um, and Nancy had enslaved people around her, but particularly one with her, like her maid, and it may be that it was the same person that stayed with her all the way through from being a young girl at the Tuckahoe plantation through to, which the book will tell you, where she ends up in life.
Right.
And and this woman was certainly in the room, a young girl herself at the time when the event happened that
Mhm.
sparked everything. But of course, nobody ever asked her what happened.
Right.
Nobody would ask her, even if her testimony would have been disregarded.
Right.
So and she left no written record of what she thought about it all, although there's like letters of Nancy's and her sisters and all the famous men that are in the book. So really, I spent a lot of time thinking about how to include her, or
Yes.
and to what degree and how to do it. And so the story is told from three points of view. Um,
Okay.
Nancy's point of view, her sister Judy's point of view, and also the enslaved woman Phoebe's point of view.
Wow.
And she has, perhaps the most honest point of view in some ways on what happens. And although hers is not the main story, she does have like her own sub story and events that happened to her and her input into the resolution. So it was challenging but interesting to do that.
Right.
And I certainly learned a great deal about society then and things of that nature.
Yes, of course, of course. So in all of this, is there like, what are you working on now? Is there anything going to like come out of this? Like maybe even her story?
Well, I feel like I could be the person to write it. I think you reach your limit of you can stretch yourself into so many different people's, you
Of
can
course.
write as men or whatever. I don't think I would do that. And what I'm doing now is set in Scotland. It,
Okay.
it is similar, kind of similar time frame. It's like early 19th century, whereas that one crossed the centuries. I'm not very good at I think the sensible thing to do as a writer would be to pick a period and really know it and write lots of stories based in that time. But no, I'm not doing that.
No, I don't do that either.
Why I can't do it, I don't know. But so no, I have moved to Edinburgh, which is where I'm from, and writing this
Nice.
based on events there, and super excited about that. You can kind of see some of the researchers up there behind me. So
Yes, yes. So, I mean, I think that that's, I don't know, because of Outlander and everything, and I know that's time travel, but still, everybody has such a fascination with
mm,
Scotland, and so I think right there is like an in with you with fans. You say Scotland, and everybody's like, "Yes, I want to read
yes,
it."
I have a really good Outlander story actually. So
Okay.
my uncle, lots of my family still live in Scotland, and my uncle
Mhm.
is a scoutmaster there. And one of their big scouting camps has been regularly used as a site for Outlander filming.
Oh, wow.
And he said that when they came out, the production team came out to kind of scope the area and decide what
Uh-huh.
they do there. He said that they basically walked through this wooded area and fields and everything, going, sex scene here, fight scene there, sex scene there, fight scene there. And that was kind of planned the whole thing. So that's Outlander in a
Well,
nutshell.
that's a funny story, but that's basically it, isn't it?
Made me laugh.
Yeah, that's very funny. Well, so with your new book, I know it came out in May, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any events or anything coming up or book signings that maybe people would like to know about to come out and get a signed book from you?
I do not really. I've done one book signing. I guess I'm gonna go and see it by my local Barnes and Noble,
Right.
and maybe do there. But no, I am more of a sit at home,
I understand.
hide out kind of a writer. That kind of the whole event thing. Oh, not so. So much. So
That's okay.
yeah. But if anybody wants to find me on Instagram or on like my Substack, for example,
Right.
then I'm very happy to
Yeah,
socialize.
please tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Kate Braithwaite author. My Substack is called Sis Stories, like short for sister stories. And then, I have a website that's just you can
Right.
just put my name and that has all my contact details on there and links to everything. So
Well, that sounds good. Well, we'll definitely put those links up on this whenever this post on YouTube, and we'll have that in the description as well, so people will know where to go find you. And we'll also put a link to your Amazon page so that people will know where to go buy your books.
awesome, thank you.
So, do you have like any advice for like authors first starting out, or maybe how to deal with reviews? How do you feel about reviews? Or
Well, how do I mean, I have like got to the point now where I truly don't read reviews very much.
okay,
Um, my husband reads them and he
Mhm.
tells me if they're good and then I'm happy. I think with reviews you have to know that not everybody is going to like your book.
Exactly.
And as a reader I don't like every book I read, so why would I have this fantasy idea that everybody's going to like my book? It's obviously great when people do connect with your book, but if they don't, there are many many books out there, and some people don't like books that are written in the present tense, or some people don't like when you have multi narrators and things like that. So, it's obviously great to get reviews and to know that people are reading your book and enjoying your book, but really, I think that's it's not shouldn't be the end game. If for me, if I've worked on this book, the publisher likes the book, my trusted readers like the book, I have revised and tried so hard to make this the best story I can. It's done now. It's out there. What happens to it
Right.
now really doesn't belong to me that much anymore.
Right.
So it's best to try and move on.
Mm.
Is my and
That's
never reply to a review. Never.
No, never reply to a
Never.
review. That's definitely I have actually had, because we run the historical fiction company editorial reviews, and that is one of the advice that I would give because we have had several authors who've responded to, maybe a little bit of a critique in the review or whatever, and it's really frowned on, you know.
Yeah, it just doesn't go anywhere. I mean, I think I can understand it in historical. I mean, and I'm an editor for the Historical Novel Society, and
Right.
I edit books for review books for Blue Ink. So I spend a lot of time in this area.
Hmm.
And if someone says you did something historically inaccurate, and you know that you didn't, then that is super, super frustrating. But at the end of the day, the kind of noise you can make trying to correct that just makes you look dafter than the person who was wrong in the first place. And it's just hard being a writer. I think you're so,
because this is your baby.
so much, so much of yourself out there, and then if someone is dismissive of it, it's extremely difficult. But I always try and think, nobody's begging me to do this. I could have a job like I used to, and
Yes.
so it's hard. But that my advice is always to just try and ignore the reviews. Ask yourself if you're happy with it, and then if you are, that's great.
Yeah, I agree. And I was guilty of that as well. My very first book, I had a 1-star review come out for somebody who didn't like that my topic of saying that Shakespeare didn't write the plays. And that was his
topic these days.
yes, and that was his beef with me. It wasn't about the book itself, it was about the topic that I chose. And so and you do find yourself doing that initially whenever you're starting out. And that was 20 years ago. You're like, oh no, I should say something. But you have to learn after time.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel that something's unfair, it's very difficult to stomach it.
It is. It really is. It really is. Well, I'm glad you shared that about, you being a reviewer with the Historical Novel Society and Blue Ink. So, it definitely is a learning lesson for authors. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're welcome. I think it's made me a better writer, actually, doing book reviews, because I always thought, because I read a lot, I always thought, oh yes, I know everything about books. I read all the time, but I didn't read in a craft intelligent way. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think if you're writing book reviews a lot, then you are thinking about, well, why does that not work?
Exactly.
What is it about this structure that left you cold? Why was that that character wasn't consistent? And then these are things that you can watch and learn and use in your own writing. So
it really is. It really is. And for most authors, they don't view it in that sense, and because it is so personal, it is so close to and we understand that as well because being authors ourselves. And so you have to balance it. I found that with doing reviews, balancing the commendation with trying to help as well. And sometimes it's whenever you're trying to help somebody, it's a delicate balance, isn't it?
It is. It's a sensitive thing for all of us, however many books we've written. It's still
it really is. Well, we really appreciate you being on the show today and all your insight into reviewing and to your novels and everything, and we really appreciate you being here. And for all of the listeners out there, please, we will put the links up for Kate's books and where you can find out more information about her. Please go out and check out more information about her and her books. And we really wish you well and much success on The Scandalous Life of Nancy Randolph. That's it.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the book, and that's awesome. It's great what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. And to all the listeners out there, thank you for listening today. This is Dee Marley at the History Bards Podcast. And as always, keep making history and keep listening.